Welcome, everyone, to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we're able to showcase some of the work our past students have done. I'm Charlotte. I'm one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have with us Christina, who did one of our one-on-one mentorships. So firstly, Christina, can you just introduce yourself? So tell us who you are, where you're from, and what year you are in school.
Hi guys, my name is Christina and I'm a junior studying at the International School of Beijing.
Great. And then can you tell us, so you did our one-on-one mentorship, can you tell us what your course was about, who your mentor was, and what drew you to study this topic?
So the course that I did was with Dr. Hande Guzel, and it's a gender studies course where we focused on masculinity, revirginization, hymenoplasty, and the origins and formation of gender norms in society. So the reason why I wanted to study this course was because personally I felt strongly about gender norms and sometimes the inequalities that exist under patriarchal societies. This also led me to my research topic, which we will discuss later. So this, during the interview with CCIR and during my application, I noted all of that. And as Dr. Guzel interviewed me, I was drawn by her topic because she did a research on revirginization in Turkey. So I thought that was really interesting for me.
Great. And then had you had any experience with this topic before starting CCIR, or what made you want to do to study this topic specifically as a one-on-one mentorship?
I think I never really had the chance to learn about gender norms. Like prior to this, I was a history-oriented student, and I didn't really know much about gender norms in society. But personally, because of, I guess, the way I dressed, I did receive criticisms for it. And I think that really contributed to my identity as well as my interest in gender studies. So I really took a lot away from this course, and I really recommend people taking it.
Great. And then now we'll pivot into talking about your research topic. So can you tell us the title of your paper and then give us a gist of what it was about?
So the title of my research paper is Unveiling the Gender Dynamics within Mosuo Society and Enmeshment between Patriarchy and Matriarchy. So basically, in last year, in the month of August, I went to do an in-person research collection at the Mosuo village in Yunnan, China, Luoshui village. And I conducted around 12 semi-structured in-depth interviews. And basically, what drew me to this topic was at first, Mosuo Society, a little introduction, is a so-called matriarchy. So like my whole research topic and my course with Dr. Guzel that revolved around gender dynamics, I was really interested on why people might call this place a last matriarchy. So I wondered whether or not gender constructed there, the gender norms there would be maybe opposite and reverse roles than patriarchal societies, and that women would be predominant holders and wielders of political power. So that's why I went there in the first place. However, my paper discusses how the existing literature's view on Mosuo society is erroneous, and that in reality, there is an underlying patriarchy underneath the so-called matriarchy. However, the reason why I named it Enmeshment is because they still possess certain traits that shows high respect towards women, and both genders are equally respected. However, there are certain factors such as the infantilization that may occur when men claim to protect women that also manifest in most of society.
That's very interesting. And that's really cool that you were able to do primary data collection. So you were able to go there yourself and hold those interviews. Had you had any experience doing any data collection or research like this before? And can you walk us through how you came to decide on those research methods and what the process was like?
I feel like prior to this, I was more of a stayed at home and sat in front of my computer person. I never really had anything that prompted me to pursue further interest beyond perhaps essay writing or research paper writing. I think this time was a really big challenge for me because I was stepping out of my comfort zone as well. And I think especially Dr. Guzel, she really helped me narrow down my focus and to help review whether or not like, because initially my papers was about how, okay, there is gender equality and that was all. And after discussing it with Dr. Guzel, like she kind of guided me into thinking that. And I realized myself that, okay, this might not actually be just gender equality that simple, but maybe there's like an underlying patriarchy. And how I got into actually going there was that I found an interlocutor, which I knew I was working with the Mosuo People's Museum as well. And then I went there in person with a research group. And then we went to conduct those interviews. And I was really lucky because I got to work with the Mosuo Museum curators. And I also help them now as a translator for their museum's website.
That's great. And it sounds like this created some really unique opportunities for you, which is so cool. Did you find any other interesting, or did you discover any other interesting findings through conducting your research there?
I think my findings was that, first of all, they're not as underdeveloped as it is stated and portrayed in literatures, and that because of tourism and other factors following tourism that brings like economic changes, their whole culture with integration of perhaps hand culture has kind of altered and shifted. And I went to do two different parts of the village. So one of them was the more modern one, and then the other ones were near the mountains. So they had less advanced technology. So it was just really interesting for me to see like how the cultures are preserved differently, and perhaps my dogs, but the difference in ideology as well, because people who were living closer to the mountains, they had like upheld traditions and maybe a more conservative mindset, and how tourism and influence could influence the people living in the Luoshui village, which was a more advanced village, on how they perceived women and gender. But I didn't really look into that into my studies. So I think that's something other people can explore.
Yeah, that's great. And that makes total sense. And I think we see that often globally where communities that are less exposed to tourism and modernization have these less patriarchal views, or they're able to uphold their traditional cultural values. And then doing this research paper, did it change your perspectives on anything related to the topic at all?
Regarding gender studies or Mosuo?
Either one.
Yeah, because I realized that this so-called romanticized matriarchy really does not exist, and nothing really is black and white, and there could be a middle space in between where both genders received respect, treatment. There's just sometimes that we have to like explore how this would work in our society. So I think that was pretty interesting for me. And gender studies or sociology in general, I think this was an experience that helped me apply this into real life. And it wasn't all just theory and concepts, but also helped me understand how I can use this knowledge to really delve into this real world and analyze how things work.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. And then the last question about your specific research topic. So I know you spoke earlier about, or we mentioned earlier about how you've dealt a little bit with the publishing process or started that. Can you walk us through what that process has been like for you and where you're at?
So my publication with journals have not been so successful, but I applied to the European Sociology Association 16th conference in Porto, and I got accepted. So I was really happy. So I'll be going to Porto in August, and I have Dr. Guzel's help with me with my presentation as well. And I think it was struggling for me because I had to condense my 30-something page research paper into a 15 minutes presentation. And I tend to overspeak. But for the publication process, I think it's a lot more challenging than I expected. And I've applied to around 2 rounds already. I got rejected, and on my 3rd round. So it was really sad because it was always at the last stage. And it was because like the topic was out of reach or for some other reasons. But CCIR has also helped me during this process by guiding me, and Mr. Lee has been helping me out as well. So I was really thankful for them as well.
Great. Yeah, the publication process can be quite daunting, but that's really great that you're able to go to a conference. That will be such a great experience. So now we're going to shift a little bit into talking about just your general experience with CCIR. So firstly, can you tell us what your experience was doing a program like this and a course like this as a high school student?
I think the first few weeks was really, really intense. And it really put my writing and reading skills to test because the assignments we were giving was pretty heavily loaded and not what we were expecting from like perhaps high school. But it was also really interesting because I guess I never could have gotten access to these resources that Dr. Guzel was giving us. And it's just really detail and oriented, and it helped me take a lot away from it, even though it was a pretty challenging read at first. But like as the weeks went by, the different topics we went by, I feel like I got more confident with my writing skills as well, which also helped me a lot in doing my final research project. So I kind of like just see myself grow along this way.
That's great. Yeah, and you're not only just learning how to research, but you're also learning how to write, which is something that you can always improve on. And then the second question, how would you compare your learning experience in this course to other courses that you've taken in high school, both in terms of the topic of the course and also the rigor of the program?
I feel like I haven't really taken any other sociology courses, so I can't make a comment on that. But IB is also quite challenging. So I think when I took this course as a 10th grader, it was definitely pretty challenging for me, but also people grow under challenging circumstances. So I think it was a really good experience. And regarding courses I took in school, I think it's definitely more harder than school as well. Regarding summer programs that I've probably taken, I feel like the level of rigorousness is similar in some senses. Yeah, it delves really deep into the topic that you're studying in a good way. So that's why it's challenging. Yeah.
And I think you mentioned a good point that you haven't taken any other sociology classes in a high school setting, which I think is one of the highlights of our programs, is that you're able to do these courses that you wouldn't necessarily have access to as a high school student. And especially with your course, it wasn't just sociology, sociology 101. It was a very niche topic within sociology, which you probably wouldn't even take until your second or third year of university, which is really cool. And then the next question, in our program, we really like to emphasize that the aspect of mentorships as opposed to just teachers, where our mentors don't just transfer information onto you, but really guide you through your own discoveries and learning process. Can you tell us about your experience with your mentor and your experience as you moved through the first kind of teaching half of the course into the latter research-oriented half of the course, and how they helped guide you through your first big research project?
I think during the initial few weeks, it was basically us doing the assignments, and in class, the teacher our mentor just going through it with us and like solving any of the questions we had. And I think our relationship got more intimate in the research stages because we got to discuss more about like what I was thinking. And she really helped me Dr. Gruzel really helped me figure out like how and where my scope was, because I did not originally just come up with, okay, I'm going to go focus on Mosuo. We're exploring different topics as well. She really prompted me to think about what I really like and what really interests me. And after that, especially when I was writing my research paper, we discussed the different evidence that I used at different points. And after I wrote my research paper, we went over the research paper, and she really helped me like refine my draft in a like professional perspective, as well as offering insights onto how, okay, this could be improved, and particularly prompting me to think deeper into whether or not this is what I wanted to settle with, right? Like gender equality, and that's all. And she really prompted me to think deeper and think about like, was this really just gender equality, or is there something more? She didn't tell me directly, but when we were discussing it, she kind of led me into this direction. So I was really thankful. And especially after, I think our relationship is quite close. And she also helped me she was really happy for me for my conference. And she's been taking her own time to help me prep with it as well. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity for me to meet her.
That's really great. Oh, and is she also going to go to the conference with you in person?
No, she has
Okay.
another.
Where is your mentor based?
She's in Istanbul.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then just the last few questions. Has this course given you any insights into your future? Do you think it's informed or shaped how you think of your path moving forward at all?
I think gender studies was one of my interests because I'm still more history oriented, but it definitely helped shaped, if not my future, but my identity, which also impacts my future because I think I really feel strongly about this topic personally. So identity wise, it also I kind of transfer my identity into like what empowers me and my ambition to move forth. So I think definitely this shaped the way I would view the world in the future, and how that perhaps, okay, what I feel about being me or others view me is not just my issue, but it's because of the way the society is constructed. So it really did help me open a new perspective towards life. And I think if not in my future, like directly, I'm going to learn gender studies, it definitely like opened a new perspective in my life and did change my future in some way.
That's great. And I think just something as something like gender studies, where especially as women, it's something that impacts our daily lives as women. I think it's something that's really great, will always be helpful to learn. And it seems like you got some really amazing takeaways from this opportunity. And then my last question for you, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially as a high school student?
I think there's a lot of value to this because, first of all, it's a self-identification process, especially for topics like gender studies. It really does help you understand more of who you are and what the society is like. And regarding other projects, it really gives you an opportunity to delve deeper into the fields that you like with the help of another person. Because I did undertake in a lot of other personal projects as well. But I think it's a different experience working with a mentor of this profession. And she really does guide me into delving deeper. So, and also you gain new resources and you gain a lot of new opportunities that you perhaps might not think you would encounter. So I think it's a really valuable experience.
That's great advice. So thank you so much again for chatting with me, and congratulations on your nomination to our Student Spotlight series.
Thank you.